Mark Levin has a new boogeyman that he wants you to fear. Let's listen.
How great of a risk is it that we're currently seeing to our religious liberty in this country?
Well, there is a great risk. It actually started in the 1940s with some of the appointees to the Supreme Court by Franklin Roosevelt. You often hear people say, and the media will get confused by what I say because they're not particularly bright as a group. You'll hear people say separation of church and state. Now, hold on now. No, separation of church and state is not in the Declaration. It's not in the Constitution. It's in a letter that Jefferson wrote. I'm a big admirer of Jefferson. Jefferson was not at the Constitutional Convention. That's number one. Number two, what they meant by that is a theocracy.
Right.
We know what they meant. They told us what they meant. And if one of these Sunday show dress-up hosts would actually read a little bit of history, they would understand what this country was founded on. There's a reason why there's a free exercise clause in the First Amendment, and there's a reason why the other clauses in the First. The federal government is not supposed to establish a religion. What we have now, though, is the federal government as a religion.
Right.
Secularism has become a religion. And just as in Muslim countries they have these Sharia courts to enforce Sharia law, well, we have a Supreme Court that exists to enforce, apparently, secularism.
That is adorable. You see what he did there? He played with words to make them mean their opposite. Anybody could come up with a bullshit rhetorical argument like that, where you literally are making a semantic argument, where you pretend like the thing that's the solution is actually the problem. And what's funny is a guy like Mark Levin and his cohorts on the right, a lot of them are openly in favor of basically a Christian theocracy, or at the very least having Christianity influence our laws to one degree or another. That is much closer to Sharia law than secularism. Secularism is the opposite of Sharia. Secularism is the opposite of theocracy. So when he said there, the founders were against theocracy, exactly, which is why they're in favor of secularism. But it's okay. I made a list of other things here that Mark Levin wants you to fear. So number one on the list, as you just saw, secular Sharia. Be very afraid of secular Sharia. He also wants you to be afraid of peaceful genocide. That's a big problem. Consensual rape, healthy cancer, and a free tyranny. See, those things are opposites. You have a contradiction issue here, Mark. And just so everybody knows, the definition of secularism is the belief that religion should not play a role in government, education, or other public parts of society. That's it. That's all it is. So anybody who tries to add something else on it, they're making it up. And when people say you're a secular extremist, that's as stupid as when somebody says you're a civil liberties extremist. Like, what does that mean? The founders were civil liberties extremists. The founders were secular extremists. The idea was, yeah, we believe in this system. And there, it's one of those things, is there a middle ground? There's not a middle ground. You either believe in civil liberties or you don't, right? It's not like, well, you know, we like them, but when times get rough, we might need to get rid of them. Well, then you're not really in favor of them. The whole idea of civil liberties is that they're concrete, is that these are rights that under no circumstances the government can say, okay, now they're mine, now I'm taking them away. It's the same thing for secularism. If you're a secular extremist, that just means I really believe that you should keep religion out of the government. And let's be perfectly clear. That doesn't by any stretch of the imagination mean we should get rid of religion, or you're not allowed to be religious in your private life, or we're going to ban mosques or ban churches or ban whatever. Of course not. See, that's the thing that's so brilliant about secularism, is that it is official neutrality. That's the government saying, okay, we have Muslims in this country, we have Christians in this country, we have atheists, we have Buddhists. Here's how this is going to go down. None of you are going to hijack the government and implement your version of your religion and force everybody else to believe it. So secularism is the compromise. Secularism is the middle ground. Secularism is neutrality. So what Mark Levin wants you to be scared of is extremist neutrality. He wants you to be afraid of secular Sharia, which, again, is the exact opposite of Sharia. Secularism is the opposite of Sharia. It's the idea that to each their own, you guys can believe whatever you want to believe, you can be as religious as you want to be, but the government is neutral. And when we figure out how to run society, we're supposed to, in theory, figure it out based on democracy, based on debate, based on logic and rationality, not based on, I don't want to play this intelligent game. My space fairy told me that I need to force you to do what I want you to do. Because that's the alternative.